we choose is the relationship between cultural values, cultural intelligence, and negotiation styles by Andre Caputo, Aimi, P. Ayoko, Niemo, and Carlo Menke. This study examines the impact of cultural intelligence on humans, relationships between cultural values and individual preference for negotiation styles. This study highlights the importance of cultural values and cultural intelligence in negotiations, establish a style of negotiations, and contribute to research and practice of negotiation. What is power distance? According to Chapter 7, a high power distance culture is biased toward a centralized power with a hierarchically structured organization and a big pay gap and interpersonal status. Subordinates of organizations are expected to do what they are supposed to do. Low power distance culture considers subordinates. Get closer to your manager and flatten out and reduce hierarchies and differences within the organization's salary and status. Power distance is a measure of how people perceive inequality within countries and businesses.
Second cases in this article is uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance means fear of the unknown, the degree of ambiguity, and the degree to feel at ease in ambiguous, uncertain, and unstructured situations. Uncertainty avoidance has three categories, which are low, moderate, and high. For low uncertainty avoidance is more open and inclusive, and people will engage in risk-taking behavior. This type of person will interact less formal and less resistant to change. This type of person likely to have fresh ideas, detest rules, and not afraid with change. Next in this article is high uncertainty avoidance is have high level of control and organize everything in their life. This type of person will feel uncomfortable, hard to accept change, and not likely to take risks in their life. From these article cases, we can relate with subtopic competitive and cooperative. It is because competitive is related to people that have low uncertainty avoidance. This person loves to involve in competitive and risk conflict. Meanwhile, high avoidance uncertainty is a person that likely to cooperate with other parties. They are likely to share and communicate to gain trust and confidence about the change that happen.
The third case is collectivism. Collectivism explains how people are incorporated into big groups. People who live in culture with strong collectivities believe, as opposed to those from individualistic culture, show a strong desire for upholding harmony. Collectivism has a negative correlation with lying, faking, and other dishonest behaviors, all of which are related to competitive bargaining methods. This shows that people living in collectivity culture have a stronger sense of group consciousness. The subtopic that related is collectivism versus individualism. As we know, in a collectivity culture, people are incorporated into a powerful, cohesive collective that offers safety. The first collectivist prefer is cooperative dispute resolution approach and are more likely to make adjustments for others or avoid conflict than they are to use more assertive method. People for collectivist societies are concerned with maintaining collective interaction. Second, negotiation style is avoidance. Avoidance is employed as a conflict resolution method in collectivist group to address conflict because comprehension is considered not as the product of putting meaning into words, but rather as a greater knowledge of shared perspective, expectation, and intimacy.
Next, I will move to masculine. Masculine has its purpose and it's not wrong, its use is good directions. There are two types of masculinity, namely feminine and masculinity. Those masculinity femininity refer to the district between emotional and gender roles. Next, the distributions of emotional roles between the sex is those reference to us masculinity and femininity in cultural value. For example, competitiveness, aggressiveness, and material achievement. Also, ambitions and power are valued in masculinity societies. Following that, cultural intelligence is defined as a multidimensional structure that represents the functionality of a person's masculinity in a various cultural situations. Gender is thus attached to language in negotiations. Men are more likely to talk about facts, speak more directly, and use direct and aggressive language, whilst women tend to ask objectionable questions and use indirect and less directive language. Women are more likely than men to ask open-ended.
Lastly, this part of study is focuses on a direct and indirect effect of national culture on negotiation behavior in management. Direct influence negotiation refer to an approach where individuals openly communicate their interests, preference, and position to the other parties involved. This direct influence negotiation, the focus is on natural and straightforward communication, with negotiator expressing their needs and desire directly to other party. According to the ATIKAH, a culturally knowledgeable negotiator may readily adjust to a local customer and grasp how Japanese negotiators prefer to communicate information immediately, while French negotiators prefer a more direct manner of communication. Similarly, a culturally knowledgeable negotiator may comprehend the characteristics of a foreign society and employ suitable sweet talking and log rolling tactics. Based on the negotiation and strategy subjects in Chapter 6, it states that to be a greatest and most effective communicator, to get your idea across without misunderstanding or confusion, your objective should be to limit the frequency of difficulties at each stage of the process through clear, accurate, and well-planned communication. The more individuals that are involved in the process, the greater the complexity and potential for noise. Therefore, communication must be a precaution to avoid unintended connotation among different cultures.
For the recommendation, firstly, researcher can make their study paper better by crafting and arranging abstract. This is because the first section of the document that will be read is the abstract. It needs to explain how they conduct their research. Readers will find it more visually appealing as a result.
Recommendations that we suggest in article is needs to increase the sample size. This is because of a random selections from the pool of non-student individuals currently working through a research network on linkers and gathering data through crowdsourced platform. Hence, the research can collect data from various types of jobs and from students who study in a public higher education institutions and private higher education institutions. In addition, researchers can also use various platforms such as Google Forms, Facebook, and others to attract respondents to fill in the answer.
The last recommendation that we suggest for this article is focusing on independent variables like gender, age, and lifestyle to understand negotiation style. By analyzing this variable, the author can identify where individuals can adapt negotiation strategy based on their culture value, fostering harmonious relationship, and learning new culture rules.
Next, we move to the conclusion. As a conclusion, culture is one important factor that affects how executives organize themselves to negotiate a deal. Some culture emphasize the individual while others stress the group. This value may influence the organization of each side in a negotiation. Not only that, we have been discussing further based on the cases in the article, which are power distance, uncertainty avoidance, collectism, masculinity, and last but not least, direct and indirect influence on negotiation. Negotiation style like personality have a wide range of variation. Once you have identified likely disconnects between you and other party, you will want to adjust and refine your negotiation strategy to close to gap. This involves thinking about underlying needs driven by culture values such as the need to maintain face and look good to one's supervisor, as well as the best way to craft the best possible agreement. In conflict resolution, you can and should draw on the same principle of collaborative negotiation that you use in deal making. For example, you should aim to explore the interests underlying parties' position, such as a desire to resolve a dispute without attracting negative publicity or to repair a damaged business relationship within your college.